I can't help myself. I'm just a hugger. I love making sure people are feeling good, that their day's going good. You never know who you're gonna touch along the way that needs that hug. My poor husband, we go to parties and I'm always interested in what makes you tick and what are your loves and your passions. I just love that. I just love people, period. And so I got my real estate license. My kids were little. It was a perfect career to raise children. I was able to be Girl Scout leader, cupcake mom. Terry and I used to come up here and bring our children to go skiing. Then one year, we decided to rent a motorhome. And that's when we fell in love with Bend. The summer was just absolutely fabulous. People really care about others here. I think I'm gonna have another 10 years on my life living here because it just really decompresses you. You're not stressed all the time. I have always been a type A personality. When I get involved in my real estate, practically sleep with my phone next to my bed. I'll take calls almost crazy hours of the night, but I can't help myself. I want to make sure I'm finding them the right house, that they're making the right decision. I really care about my clients. I've always been that way, and I end up making a lot of friends. The longer that you've been in the business, the more knowledge that you obtain. Every escrow is different. You need to have a lot of transactions to learn the business. I have sold real estate since 1981, and there isn't a scenario I haven't run into. It's very rewarding finding a home for someone. Like I tell my clients, I said, we're in this together, it's a marriage.
A little bit of feedback there. The mic is hot. No, I think it's just volume. If we could get the volume down just a little, it would be perfect. Welcome, friends, family. I'm going to turn that off. I'll try the other mic. Friends, family, we're here to celebrate the life of Danielle Snow, and what a life it was. Love. No better word describes the woman that we called colleague, friend, sister, mom, and wife. She embodied love. Danielle made love tactile. Her essence was and still is tangible. We could feel it, and we could see it in a way that was different than what we had previously experienced. Her zest for life was contagious. She redefined the expression lighting up a room. You always knew when Danielle Snow arrived at the party. But her understanding and expression of love was at its most excellent in her outward focus towards others. I was able to observe this in a very unique way. My name is Sean Kent. I've worked in Bend for the last 20 years as a mortgage lender. I have a small mortgage team, and about 15 years ago, Danielle, who at the time was a top producing real estate mogul, even then, she gave me a call with a client referral, and with it, a shot at earning the opportunity to work alongside her, where I had a front row seat to her brilliance. And brilliant she was in every way that mattered. She was real, she was honest, she was caring and kind. Danielle was a straight shooter. She was patient and understanding and loyal with a capital L. She was fiercely competitive. She knew how to bulldog a situation when she needed to protect people, and she was deeply committed to being her best. As my working relationship with Danielle evolved, I went from colleague to friend to family, which is what I wrote on my name card. She and her husband, Terry, ultimately became like grandparents to my children, and we shared fun holidays and vacations together. And I'm sure that many of us in this room share a similar story as to how Danielle's love captured you, transformed you from acquaintance to friend to family. And now look how huge our family is. After working with Danielle for some time, I learned about a creed within John L. Scott, wherein agents are encouraged to live their lives as contributions. Danielle did this with such beauty. It was clear that it was natural to her. I could list a bunch of examples, but truthfully, if we all stop and think about it now, can't we all remember the incredible ways Danielle was outwardly focused towards us? Her volunteering, her teaching, her giving of her time, her resources, and her energy. I'm sure we can all remember many examples of her deep generosity. When she had out-of-town buyers, she turned her home into a bed and breakfast. I just thought that was crazy. She would invite these strangers into her home, and they would live with her while they looked for properties. That was her. And bless Terry for that. I attend a local church where a few weeks ago my pastor gave a message based on a passage out of Matthew 6. And the Bible in that passage encourages us not to worry and says, look at the birds of the air. They do not sow or reap or store away in barns, yet your heavenly Father feeds them. And among my pastor's many points in this message was the fact that if we truly study the birds of the air, we quickly realize they're not lazy. They don't sit simply waiting to be fed. They scavenge and hunt. They dive, they grasp their prey, sometimes on land, sometimes underwater. And studying the birds helps us see that the bald eagle is quite different from the sparrow. And they're designed to be fed by God using the specific characteristics each of them has been blessed with. Whether it's keen eyesight, the ability to swim, or the unique and diverse way in which each species digests its food. He then shared a quote as a part of this message that stopped me in my tracks and immediately put Danielle at the front of my mind. It's a quote from David Benner. It says, "Our vocation is the way of being that is both best for us and best for the world." See, God designed each bird in a way that is both best for it and best for the world. Does that not sound like Danielle? She had the perfect vocation, and I'm not talking simply about her career or her employment. She was blessed with incredible, incredible gifts that were innate and natural to her. They were refined by her specific environment, her life experiences, and she found a way of being that was both best for her and best for the world. Speaking of career, I would tell you, many of us in this room I know are in real estate, and I would say real estate kind of happens on two dimensions from my perspective. In one facet, you have all the client interaction, the showings and excitement, the romantic afternoons and weekends spent dreaming about kitchens and dining tables and backyard patios, right? Time stands still, the air is charged with electric and exhilarating thrill and anticipation of offers, counteroffers, and agreements. But the second dimension happens behind the scenes. The battles with appraisers and underwriters, the tenuous, perspiration-drenched hand-wringing as the team works to convince the parties involved to approve and lend and make deadlines amidst a shuffle of a mountain of paperwork. And this is where I had this unique perspective with Danielle. I was most impressed by the way she handled herself behind the scenes. She honored everyone. She valued everyone. She knew how to get things done without compromising herself, her integrity, her clients, or her team. She did it with her multi-million-dollar buyers. She did it with her barely qualified first-time home buyers. She gave everyone her best. And as individuals who shared the same faith, we would sometimes pray for our clients, she and I, those who had just gone through loss, sometimes those who had gone through divorce. And what I would hope that you all would know, and I know her family would hope you would know, is that thing with which she was so mesmerizing and captivating, this love that emanated from her very being, was God in her. She's in heaven looking down on us here today, no longer suffering, no longer in pain. She's celebrating eternity with her Father in heaven, who put that love inside her and graced us all with the opportunity to be in its proximity. How blessed we all are to have called her friend. I look forward to the warmth of Danielle's embrace once again. I know she'll brighten eternity for all of us. Let's pray as we continue to honor and remember the life of Danielle Snow. Please pray with me. Dear Lord, your word reminds us that every good and perfect gift comes from you. What a perfect gift our time with Danielle was. Thank you for the time we shared, and thank you for rescuing her from the pain of her affliction. We don't understand all of your ways, but we trust you, and we know that we have a hope in you that is beyond the boundaries of this world. Remind us that you are the great artist, and we are in this beautiful painting you've made called life. This painting hanging on the wall, where every night we can see beyond the edges of the picture frame just by stepping outside and looking into the night sky, staring into eternal space and time, knowing we're looking directly at more than our minds can grasp. Please help us do our best to grow, to love, to seek understanding, yet also remind us that you're the one who defines the way this painting looks and feels. Amen. One of the things that I've learned in life is that there really are no coincidences. And on the day, literally the day that Danielle passed, a song was released by a prominent music artist named Cooper Allen, titled, "I Will Never Not Remember You." And her dear husband, who was obviously caught up in many details and emotions that day, he received multiple text messages saying God gave you a song and a message to help you through the day. So in remembrance of Danielle and in honor of her husband Terry, we want to play this song for you now.
Well, I know you're up in heaven, but damn, it hurts like hell. 'Cause I'd just be pretending if I said anything else. And I know God don't make mistakes, but this sure feels like one. That won't change the facts, that won't bring you back. So I'll cry 'cause it's over, and smile because we had you. Packed a whole lot of living even though it ended all too soon. And in time I'll start healing, but even when I get that feeling, no matter where I go or what I do, I'll never not remember you. Thank God for all the memories and pictures on my phone. They don't fill the empty, but I feel less alone. And I know you're with the angels, right where you belong. 'Cause you were one to us, you left a legacy of love. So I'll cry 'cause it's over, and smile because we had you. Packed a whole lot of living even though it ended all too soon. And in time I'll start healing, but even when I get that feeling, no matter where I go or what I do, I'll never not remember you. You lighten up a whole room like that. You made us think, made us feel, made us all laugh. You always giving that shirt off your back. I miss you bad, I miss you bad. So I'll cry 'cause it's over, smile because we had you. Packed a whole lot of living even though it ended all too soon. And in time I'll start healing, but even when I get that feeling, no matter where I go or what I do, I'll never not remember you. Oh, I promise you, I'll never not remember you.
And now I'd like to introduce Danielle's son, Ryan Snow.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for gathering here today to honor and remember my dear mother, Danielle Snow. The turnout today is a testament of the countless lives she has touched. It's profoundly comforting to recognize the immense love she was surrounded by, especially as she faced her brave battle with cancer. While cancer may have claimed her, it cannot and will not claim our cherished memories. Cancer sucks. My mother's charisma was both palatable and magnetic. She wasn't just the heartbeat of every party. She was often its orchestrator, weaving nights filled with laughter and fine wine and delightful food. Should you ever have found yourself at a restaurant, maybe seated at a table next to her, which I'm sure some of you probably have been, you probably were fast friends by the end of the evening. She probably came over to your table and started talking to you in one way or another. In her world, barriers didn't exist. Strangers swiftly became cherished companions. Growing up, she showcased unparalleled resilience, helping raise her siblings, and at the age of 15, she took the bold step of leaving home. Even without a driver's license, she made her way to a job at a motel in Anaheim near Disneyland. Fate played its hand there when she met my father, Bradley Snow. Their love story wasn't just of two hearts connecting, it was of dreams merging. She married my dad. She wasn't just embracing a partner in life, she was wholeheartedly embracing the family he had, the family she so deeply yearned for. Together they took over my grandmother's piano and organ business, and they opened up stores across Southern California, turning notes and keys into sources of joy for countless families. Her tales of bravery are nothing short of legendary in our family. Like the time she confronted a prowler, armed with nothing but fierce determination and a butcher's knife, she chased him away. This story always makes me laugh because I always wonder, where was my dad during that time? It truly is a testament to the length she goes to protect her loved ones. 1981 stands out as a significant milestone for us as I was introduced to this world and she discovered her true calling in real estate. She seamlessly balanced professionalism with her innate ability to connect, always emphasizing the value of service over self. Guided by this mantra and her unwavering integrity, she stood tall among Oregon's top 1% of real estate agents. Her compassion knew no bounds. From her involvement with Assistance League to numerous local causes, her aim was clear and unwavering to enrich and uplift her community. Real estate for her was more than just business. It was a bridge connecting people, not just to houses, but to homes and to a community. To Terry, where are you? There you are. Words might never be enough, but my gratitude for your unwavering love and support and companionship, especially during her final moments, is boundless. You were her anchor, providing comfort and warmth, and for that, I'm eternally thankful. Through her journey, my mother imparted invaluable lessons, the importance of resilience, the power of genuine connection, and unyielding belief in service over self. Every guidance, every shared story, every reprimand, they have shaped me, molding me into the person I am today. Today, as our hearts weigh heavily with grief, we also celebrate a life marked by love, courage, and great spirit. Let's cherish and uphold her legacy to love deeply, to live passionately, and to serve selflessly. As we bid her farewell, let's also celebrate a life that stands as an inspiration to us all. And now my sister, Nicole Snow.
anyway. Oh, you know, getting up here to speak, everyone's like, are you sure you're going to be able to do it? And I'm like, yeah, I got this. Some of you don't know, my brother and I lost our father in December of 2014, and it was an accident. It happened quickly, suddenly. We weren't prepared for it, so to go and speak at our father's service was something that neither one of us could even think of doing. And I can remember sitting there with my brother and thinking, what's easier, when they, pass suddenly, or is it when they get sick and you kind of watch them go through that process? And now, having gone through both, neither one of them are easy. I think for me, trying to get the words out and be up here and let her know how I feel about her is what I really wanted to do with standing up here today. So, some of you don't know, our mother was diagnosed with ovarian cancer in August of 2022. It was a little shock. I don't think any of us were prepared for it. But, Mom dove into it, and she's like, I've got years. Everything's gonna be fine, and she went through the chemo. She battled with the hardest part for her was losing her hair. She, every day, when, clumps were coming out, she would put them in little baggies and, date them. And then the next day, date that one. And she would send me these texts, and I wasn't even really sure what to think about it all, except you need to really come to grips. You're losing your hair. And we went to the wig shop. We actually had a lot of fun. I think I had a lot of fun. I was trying on wigs with her, and I was going for long blonde, but it was her first realization that this was real. When she started to lose more and more clumps, I said, you know what, Mom, you're gonna come over. I'm gonna give you a glass of wine, and your son-in-law, Matt, is gonna shave your head. And she did, we did. We had some fun. She had her glass of wine at one point. We shaved it, we gave her a mohawk. We told her to, pose, rock out. And I think that made it to the little collage out there, if you could go out and look. And then at the end, she got to shave my husband's head. I said I would do it too, because I thought some of those wigs were really pretty, but she said, no, you're not gonna do that. So the cancer, she went through cancer, she went through the surgery, had some more chemo, and we thought everything was looking really good, and her numbers started to change, and we realized the cancer was coming back. It was coming back pretty aggressive. I think it took us for a little bit of a shock. She's a fighter. We all know that she's a fighter. And there was a trial that had just gone through FDA approval. She got wind that she was a positive candidate for her, and we all had hope. And she went and did one chemo treatment, and at that point we realized that her body was just already suffering. She couldn't keep food down. She was in a lot of pain, but she kept on working because that's what she did. The poor nurses, I would warn them. I mean, she had her phone with her, she had her laptop with her, she made sure every charger was with her. I mean, she set up office in the hospital bed. Gosh, and it started to go a little bit more downhill, and I kind of started to see that she was able to slowly start to put things away. But she did. She came out of the hospital after 9 days and called up clients and said, doing an open house, I'm out of the hospital. I'm doing an open house this weekend, and here I was going on, no. And I think at that point I was calling Kristen Long, and we need backup people. I need someone to do the open house. I'm doing one. My mom, I knew she couldn't do it, but that's who she was. She was there for her clients. They were still number one. Up until probably the last 2 weeks of her life, she was still thinking work, and her clients meant the world to her. And of course her family, but that's the working side of her. I watched her at the end. She was scared when we told her she was moving into hospice. Just reminding her of where she'd be heading. She was scared, and I've never seen my mom scared. She's so strong, and to see that, and to see the acceptance that she would be going to heaven, that last night with her, when she kind of had a burst of energy, actually the last few days with her, that energy, I think she was really coming to grips with things, and she had shared with Terry she was ready to go home, and she meant home. So that's kind of with her cancer, because I know a lot of us didn't know, or a lot of you in the room, we didn't share her story. But I want to go back to the video that started off, and I know it was a little noisy in there, but my mom talks about how much she loved real estate. But in the midst of always loving real estate meant sometimes for me to kind of be put out. I'd be in high school and I'd walk in my front door and stare at complete strangers and say, "Who are you?" "Well, our house isn't ready for closing yet, so your mom said we could stay here." "Really? Okay." And that happened more than once, and of course Terry had no problem with that, and I would just meet random people in my house constantly. But she did. She loved real estate. And I think real estate did allow her to do some of those things and be a mom. And she mentioned Girl Scout leader. Yes, my mom was my 4th grade Girl Scout leader, and I'm really happy. In the back over there, Amber, who lives in Bend. No, we did not do this together. We were in elementary school together, and she was also both of our Girl Scout leaders. And my mom as a Girl Scout leader was one of those, if you've ever seen, was it Troop Beverly Hills? It wasn't that bad. Wasn't that bad. But she would find really creative ways of getting us to get a badge. And there was one time we went to a really nice hotel in San Diego. I mean, she made it all about, like, we were on those little pedal things, boat things, I mean, she just made sure it was all fun, but at evening we really had to work for our badge. And we're like, "Well, what are we gonna do?" And she goes, "Well, we're gonna put footprints in the sand at the beach. I'm gonna pour wax in there, and we've made candles." That's what we did. That was a badge for us. I'm like, we're having so much fun in San Diego, and she just found these little quirky ways for us to get our little badges. But she was a great Girl Scout leader. We did do Girl Scout camp, and we did have a lot of fun, and still to this day, she would sing some of those Girl Scout songs we learned at camp. And also about my mom, believe it or not, I was extremely shy when I was a little girl. Like, I'm talking, did not talk. And my mom would love to come to school with the biggest bouquet of balloons for my birthday, so I'd get stuck walking around those balloons because she knew how shy I really was. So she always really tried to do everything for us, sometimes embarrassing, but she was an exceptional mother. So moving here, I had no plans of joining real estate. When I finally had talked to my husband into letting us kind of leave Southern California, I really thought I'd be continuing my career in education. That kind of took a little bit of a turn when my mom said, "Hey, I need help." I'm like, "Oh, all right, I'll just go get my real estate license. That's fine, no problem." And I ended up enjoying and learning from my mother. She taught me so much about this business, about clients, just her passion, to stay calm at times. There's times where there's things with clients that I'd be like, "Mom, how are you still calm?" And that's just what she did. She's like, "That's what we do." So I joined her in real estate, and moving here at the time, I would have never guessed I would only have 4.5 years with my mother in Bend. We hadn't lived near each other since, 2007 maybe. And just knowing I had 4 years to learn with her, to be with her every single day, it's incredible. And I feel like, yes, God did bring me here. God brought me here to have those years with her that none of us knew were going to be taken way short. Whew. Anyways, losing my mom during these hard times, I have so many people to thank. We had a lot of transactions going on, and I'm talking a lot. My brain went on overload, and Terry, Cabana Boy, he's still Cabana Boy. I call him, I'm doing what my mom did. "Hey, Terry, go put up a sign. Hey, Terry, can you go put a lockbox over there? Hey, Terry." "Hey, Terry, can you do an open house?" So my mom's proud. I can see it right now. But I definitely, there's Terry, and Terry took care of my mom. He was with her every day, and that things were tough. And I remember looking at him and thinking, I don't have a mom. I don't have a dad. I still had my mom at the time, and I was so worried about him driving himself to Just everything he took on, not sleeping, giving her meds, trying, her all night throwing up. And I said, I can't lose everybody because you're my parent I have left. And I said, you need to take care of yourself. And Terry did. He took care of my mom until the very end. I also want to thank my JLS, my Donald Scott family too, who just stepped it up. Here I was going, I didn't know what I was going to do, and they stepped it up. Agents we were in, brokers and transactions with, we got this, Nicole. Just everybody. What an amazing group of people everyone's been. But I still plan on making my mother proud. I'm going to carry on the career. And just knowing that my mom is in heaven right now. I always think back when my dad had passed and going through emotions. One of his closest, dearest friends had passed away from cancer, and I remember thinking, Sue greeted him with a glass of wine. My dad's going to be fabulous up there. They're having a blast. And then about a year and a half later, my dad's big brother passed, and I thought, well, my dad's greeting my Uncle Ron up there. They're going to go have smoked cigars up there. They're going to have a blast. And now, knowing my mom is being met by my dad. And those two, they got married young. They had a real brother-sister relationship. They were super close, and just knowing they're together is very healing to me. And so I hope I can still make my parents proud, and I know they're watching down at me. And anyways, that's it. All right. I'm introducing Jessie's gonna come on up, and she wanted to say something to her grandmother, my daughter Jessie.
Hi. Okay. I honestly don't know how to start this because I know if it were me, you would have the perfect speech prepared. You would know what to say and what not to say, and I know I won't word it perfectly, but I was my grandma. And I know you may not understand that, but me and my grandma shared so many qualities. I was always introduced as her mini-me for so many reasons, like our looks and so much more. I think it was because She didn't like to show her emotions much. I think it was because how empathetic she was and didn't want anyone to worry about her like she did for everyone else. Now I know she thought it was a well-kept secret, but I knew her better than she thought. Her sensitivity and love showed in special moments, like every time I would give her a heart rock. It was a special thing for her and I will never forget that special collection of rocks we had. Now I know I could be up here for hours telling you how amazing, strong, and smart she was, but I won't because you already know that because it surrounds her. She's how everyone should be, and I know you will hear how amazing she is tonight, so I'm going to go. Now your soul went to Jesus, and I know I will see you again one day. Jessie, you're mini-me.
Oh, here they come.
We'll be ready in a minute.
We're up here as a team, so we can support each other through this. If we falter, I have no doubt that somebody from Aubrey Glen will come up here and take this microphone and finish for me. Because that's what we do at Aubrey Glen. We support each other, we take care of each other, and no one ever did it better than Danielle. Anybody that's here from Aubrey Glen immediately knows what this is. For those of you who might not recognize it, I'm going to explain. This is Danielle's tip jar. Danielle used this jar to ensure that every band that ever played at Aubrey Glen was happy when they left and they wanted to return. I actually met the jar before I met Danielle. I recall during one of the happy hours, I went up to the bar, got a drink, turned around, and there was Danielle with that smile, those big, beautiful brown eyes, and the tip jar right between us. I noticed it had some $20 bills in it. She took a moment to tell me who she was and that I would be putting money in that tip jar. Probably like everybody else in this room, that's the first time I met Danielle, and it was a very memorable occasion. Think about the first time you met her. I'm sure it's much the same. I also got the point and put in my $20. Over time, Gatorine and I got to know Danielle and Terry much closer. They made us feel like we were part of their family. Danielle knew I was a wannabe real estate agent. I had no experience whatsoever, but I did, on occasion, have a chat with her. We talk about what's going on in the real estate market. I tell her, I found a house that's pending over on Champion. You know, I told her there was a new listing over on Aubrey somewhere, as if she didn't know all of this. She pretended along with me and let me think I was telling her something she didn't know, but I knew better. One time she even let me put out her open house signs. I was pretty excited. Apparently screwed that up. She never asked me to do it again. There are many stories about Danielle. All of them are special. I will always remember Danielle. Oh, sorry.
You're fine. You're fine.
Danielle will always be remembered as the sister I never had. And I will miss her. Gary?
Okay. Well, I thought I was Danielle's best friend, but look at all of you here. Danielle was a friend magnet. Everyone she met immediately adored her and wanted to be her best friend. I don't know of anyone who gave more or lived more and loved life more than Danielle did. In addition to being the smartest woman in Bend and the queen of real estate, Danielle was Aubrey Glen's cheerleader, an energizer, organizer bunny, all rolled into this one beautiful, smiling woman. I can't remember an event that she wasn't involved in. She was at Aubrey Glen happy hours with her tip jar. She made gifts for the women's golf tournaments. She volunteered at the men's golf tournaments, especially the beer cart. She volunteered for Glen Gives and even used to give shots of whiskey to golfers coming by hole 8, which is by their house. Then there were the parties, Manhattan tasting, wine tasting, beer tasting, whiskey tasting, holiday parties, Christmas parades, Easter egg hunts, pool parties, paint night, bunco night, and bingo night. Well, is that not exhausting to do all of that and run your own business and be a great mom and wife? She was everywhere and always helping someone. She also absolutely deserved the most recent Aubrey Glen Lifetime Volunteer Award, which was presented to Terry and Nicole in Danielle's honor just recently. Danielle and I had an easy friendship. We did a lot of last-minute dinners with our two favorite guys, Terry and Ron, and our favorite Ron Bauer Chardonnay. Went to concerts, charity events, and had a lot of fun and laughter. As you all know, it's impossible not to have fun with her. I enjoyed our camping trips the most. We had a 22-foot van. They had a 1-bedroom, 1-bathroom with a fireplace and full kitchen, rolling condo on wheels. So you can imagine what our trips were like. But my favorite part would be our early morning coffee. We would see Terry gets up at the crack of dawn, as everybody knows, and so Ron and I would wait for him to come out, and then we would go over and join him for coffee in the park, in the sunshine. And then Danielle would come out a little bit later, perfectly dressed, all made up. I mean, seriously, who camps like that? Anyway, we'd sit around, drink coffee, and just talk the morning away. And I think probably that was the only time I've ever seen her fairly relaxed, just a little relaxed. I wouldn't say that we were actually cougars, but Danielle and I did love to check out other guys. The last time we were together, we were on their back patio, and we were just getting ready to settle in with our binoculars and watch the golfers go by hole 8. It wasn't really a problem because it was the men's member guest, so there were lots of men, old and young, to look at. I do have to apologize for any of you younger ones that Danielle may have distracted. We're very sorry, but we really appreciated you being there. When I think of Danielle's beautiful smiling face, the words kindness, generosity, joy, love, and family come to mind. We all know that's who she was. I am so happy to have had these years with her. Terry, thank you so much for taking such good care of her. Her bravery and strength this last year made me think she would be with us forever. But I can tell you this, the lessons I've learned from knowing her will be with me forever, and I'm going to miss her. Thank you.
Next, we'd like Connie Dean to come up from the Alliance.
Thank you. It's beautiful.
Wow, what's left to say? She was quite the gal. I was honored when Terry called me and asked if I could speak today, because Danielle was such a dear friend to me. We met in 2010 when she joined the Assistance League of Bend, and we immediately became good friends. We had both moved here from Southern California, and so we had a lot in common that we talked about. And when she joined the Assistance League, like everything she did, she hit the ground running. She wanted to be involved and do whatever she could to help the children and seniors in the community. Danielle was very supportive the next year when I became the Assistance League president. And she came to me and she said, "Look, you've got this, girl. I've got your back. Whatever you need, I'm here for you." And that was Danielle, the Danielle that I knew for the next 13 years. Danielle quickly defined her role in the Assistance League as a giver. She was the best cheerleader anyone could ask for. She was the face of the Assistance League in the business community. Some of you in this room either bought a house from Danielle or she sold a house for you. I'm sorry.
Yep, you're fine. You're fine.
Better move over so I don't touch that keyboard. As I was saying, you probably either bought a house through Danielle or she sold a house for you. And you weren't just a client, you immediately became part of her family and one of her friends. And that's the way Danielle was with everything that she did. When a new client would come into her office, especially those that were new to Bend, she said, "I want you to know about the Assistance League of Bend. I want you to get involved in the community." She was so proud to be a member. Danielle could always be counted on to purchase a corporate table at our gala, put out flyers for our upcoming events. She would include our events in her newsletter. She would solicit donations from businesses, and she was quick to raise her paddle and bid on something. And I'm sorry about that, Terry. Sometimes she didn't even need what she was bidding on. When she would go up to the silent auction table and she would see that someone's name wasn't written to start the bidding off, Danielle would put her name down. And sometimes, much to her surprise, at the end of the evening, she won that prize. If a sponsorship were required, Danielle was the first one to sign up and deliver a check. Her smile and kindness and energy, as many have said, was the light that came on when she walked into a room. She was always encouraging, always giving, and always supporting. Danielle was one of our title sponsors for our recent Kitchen Kaleidoscope event here in Tethrow. And several months prior to that, she called me and she said, I want to deliver my sponsorship check. And I said, well, Danielle, you've got months, you don't need to worry about that. She says, no, I'm having my surgery for my cancer tomorrow, and I want you to have this check today. Well, you don't argue with Danielle. When she's got an agenda, she's got an agenda. So she brought the check to me, and when she dropped it off, she took my hand and she said, Connie, I don't know why God. I don't know why God put this on my plate, but I'm going to make the best of every single day I have left. She did not want cancer to define her because she was going to beat it. She didn't want sorrow. She didn't want pity. She wanted the show to go on, and she wanted to be in the center of everything that was happening. She wanted to beat cancer, not for herself, but for Terry, for her children and her grandchildren. In May, when we had our annual meeting, Danielle and I sat next to each other. It was probably one of the last times that she was out and did things in public before she really started to get sick. And as she sat next to me at the table, and I'm sharing this story because Terry asked me to, and I wrote this on a card that I sent to him. As we were sitting there laughing and talking, she said, Connie, I am so ashamed of myself. I've always been such an upbeat person, but I've really been a bitch to Terry lately. And she said, I don't know why I'm so bitchy. He's done everything and more that anyone could ask. And he's been there for me every step of the way in this journey. And she said, I just don't know why I'm so bitchy. So I gave her a hug and I said, Danielle, don't worry. Terry knows it's the cancer talking, it's not you. And he loves you. And she said, well, I'll tell you, he's the love of my life. Danielle was disappointed when we had our event here in June that she had ended up in the hospital because her health was declining and that she couldn't come. But from her hospital bed at St. Charles, she was still directing the action here in Tethrow. She called me twice during the day to find out how things were going, if Terry had delivered the brochures that she asked him to bring, and to make sure that he picked them back up at the end of the event and where I was to place them in her office. And I said, Danielle, go rest, we've got this. But that was Danielle. And at the end of the event, she would happily called me to say, my friend and escrow agent, Yvonne Ward, is the one who is the person who won the Pave raffle for the jewelry. And she was so thrilled for her friend, she had to just share that. Danielle was funny beyond words, and her humor and candor sometimes caught even her closest friends off guard. And I have to share this story. I referred a neighbor and somewhat of a friend to Danielle to help them sell their house. And I told Danielle that the husband's a bit much to handle, but the wife was really a sweet gal, and she was very Orange County, because they had moved here from Orange County. And I said, I think you'll get along really well with this couple. So a few weeks later, when I ran into Danielle, I said, well, how's the house going? And she said, oh, great, the husband's no problem. I've got that handled. And I broke the ice with the wife. And I said, oh, you did? How did you do that? She says, well, I just walked up to her and said, who did your boob job? I stood there with my mouth hanging open, and I said, what did she say? And she said, well, she looked at me and said, how did you know? And Danielle said, I looked right back at her and said, I know an Orange County boob job when I see one. Danielle was a loving mother, wife, grandmother, businesswoman, a gracious giver, a very proud Assistance League member, and a friend to everyone who knew her. A funny and candid woman who was an example of a life well lived, albeit too short. Rest in peace, Danielle. You touched the heart and lives of so many, and your light will continue to shine on everyone who knew you. Thank you. And now I'd like to introduce Scott Halligan from John L. Scott. Scott, here? There you are. Thank you.
Terry, thank you, and family, for asking me to share a few special memories and my deep friendship for Danielle. I love you both so very much. My name is Scott Halligan, and I was Danielle's real estate manager for many years. I was her colleague, and most importantly, blessed to consider her a very deep friend. I had the privilege and honor of knowing Danielle for over 20 years. She was an incomparable spirit. You've heard that. A colleague, a mentor, a true friend, always guided by her North Star, which was laughter and connecting others, by kindness and friendship. That was her gift, connecting people, especially strangers, and quickly making them feel the warmth of friendship and the inexplicable charm to feel at home. Her dedication, commitment, and passion for real estate, you've heard that, and her willingness to give back to the community. She lived life as a contribution. That was her legend. And while she established herself as one of the top producing agents in the state of Oregon, it was her humility and willingness to always listen and help a colleague that truly defined her to all. She wanted others to succeed and push the spotlight onto them and their accomplishments, the office, the team, our entire company, rather than to her own personal endeavors and accomplishments. I'd like to share just a couple of memories. There's countless, but I picked three. I feel epitomize her wonderful soul and her spirit. The first, I met Danielle over 20 years ago and Terry in Las Vegas at a real estate convention. There's a couple of you out there that were also at that convention and in this story. They had just purchased their lot in Aubrey Glen, and we're still living in Southern California, and we're excited to move up to the area in time, build their home. And we talked about Bend and all the wonderful things and just hit it off. One evening we attended a private dinner party, and the invitation, well, the one that Terry and I received from Danielle, said that we needed to wear a tux. So we did. We looked sharp. We both quickly noticed once we arrived to the party of about 100 people that we were the only two people in a tux. For the entire evening, Danielle lovingly and hysterically introduced and convinced many of them that we are the hotel staff. And as such, make sure you provide the drink orders to those two gentlemen over there, which we would go fill and order and deliver. The memory of her laughing and yelling drink orders at us from across the room, I will always, always remember. My second memory of Danielle is her true authenticity and genuine love to be present in all things, which enabled her to strike up a conversation with anyone. We all know to Danielle, all topics and questions were on the table for discussion at any time. It truly made for fun, loud, and crazy times, especially if you were out for dinner or for drinks. You knew at some point, and someone earlier referenced this, that the tables around you would soon be interacting with. You'd be interacting with the servers. Soon the sous chef and the chefs would be marched out and introduced and thanked for their meals. It was an experience to be with her, and a gift to watch her genuinely connect on a personal level with total strangers and work that room to make new friends. My final memory to share was when Danielle and Terry just purchased their motorhome, and they were having their inaugural trip down south to Arizona and California. Terry was so excited to spend some extra time with Danielle, get her away from the office, meander through the parks and just kind of go where they're going to go in Arizona, California, and fish and just hang out. I remember getting a call from Danielle. I believe it was day 2. And it went something like this. Scott, you need to call Terry tomorrow. And you need to tell him I need to be back in the office the next day. I don't care what he tells you. I'm bored. This is driving me crazy. I don't know who can do this. I go, Danielle, it's day 2. She goes, just call him, make something up, just call him. So the next day I call Terry, and it went something like this. Hi, Scott. I know Danielle called you. She was on speakerphone right next to me when she called you. And many of us have been on that speakerphone. We share a lot of speakerphones. He said she'll be there tomorrow, so she flew back to Bend. And I called Terry every night because he still fished and he hung out with his new neighbors by the fire and made sure Terry was okay. And he spent his 2 weeks. But Danielle, she learned to love that motorhome. But that first trip was something. In closing, Danielle's love and compassion for our family was immeasurable. And we feel so blessed and fortunate to have shared some additional time with both of you on your last trip to the Oregon coast. Memories and friendship that will last a lifetime and remembered forever, even during such a difficult, painful, and uncertain time. She was more interested in talking about our family. But that was Danielle. Her love and compassion for others was her true gift. I'd like to end on a short poem by David Harkins called She Is Gone. You can shed tears that she is gone, or you can smile because she has lived. You can close your eyes and pray that she will come back, or you can open your eyes and see all that she has left. Your heart can be empty because you can't see her, or you can be full of the love that you shared. We love you, Terry.
I can only imagine what it will be like when I walk by your side. I can only imagine what my eyes will see when your face is before me. I can only imagine. Surrounded by your glory, what will my heart feel? Will I dance for you, Jesus? Or in awe of you be still? Will I stand in your presence? Or to my knees will I fall? Will I sing hallelujah? Will I be able to speak at all? I can only imagine. I can only imagine. I can only imagine when that day comes and I find myself standing in the sun. I can only imagine when all I would do is forever worship you. I can only imagine, yeah. I can only imagine. Surrounded by your glory, what will my heart feel? Will I dance for you, Jesus? Or in awe of you be still? Will I stand in your presence? Or to my knees will I fall? Will I sing hallelujah? Will I be able to speak at all? I can only imagine. Yeah, I can only imagine. Surrounded by your glory, what will my heart feel? Will I dance for you, Jesus? Or in all of you be still? Will I stand in your presence? Or to my knees will I fall? Will I sing hallelujah? Will I be able to speak at all? I can only imagine. Yeah, I can only imagine. I can only imagine. Yeah, I can only imagine. I can only imagine. I can only imagine. I can only imagine when all I would do is forever worship you. I can only imagine.
Boy, was that a good idea, following the video. I thought it would be a good slot, but obviously not. So, I know you guys have all been sitting here for a long time, so I'm not going to go on and on about how wonderful Danielle was, how much she blessed my life. But I do want to thank everyone for coming and thank the speakers. You all did an awesome job of talking about how special Danielle was. I want to thank everybody who, over the last 6 weeks, have blessed our lives and sent so many wonderful letters and cards, hundreds of letters and cards and email posts and texts. And it helped the family and helped me so much. So I just want to thank you all for that. And I had the privilege of being married to her for 30 years, and it was an awesome privilege for me. So I'm going to just go to 3 stories that I'll share real quick to kind of talk about the character that Danielle had. Number one was quite a while ago in the mid-90s back in Orange County. we had a house in Orange with a 3-car garage, and when we bought it, the garage was converted to an office, and it had a full bathroom in there, and it was big enough to where we put a desk in there for me, and we put a television on the wall and a really nice leather recliner. And back in those days, I traveled a lot, so typically left on Monday, came back Friday afternoon. So just one afternoon, I get into John Wayne Airport, drive home, pull the car in the garage, and I go through the office. The office kind of was detached. And as I go into the office from the garage, I noticed there's these cables hanging from the wall where the television was. And the bracket's still there, but no TV, and my recliner's gone. So I run into the house, and I said, Danielle, I think we've been robbed. And she said, what are you talking about? She said, we weren't robbed. She says, I gave that stuff to one of my clients. This lady over in Floral Park had a really bad back. She was in pain all the time, and she needed to have some place to sit so she could get out of bed. So she gave her my recliner and my television. And it was hard to argue with her because she always did such nice things, so I just learned to go with it. And as the first song, one of the lyrics in there said she would give you the shirt off her back. She really would. But I can confirm that she'd also give you the shirt off my back. And that happened often. So the next story was very recent. It was July 21st. We were at St. Charles, and we were told by the doctors that myself and the kids, Ryan and Nicole, that there wasn't anything more they could do for Danielle. And so that we needed to take her to hospice. So St. Charles transported her over there, and the kids and I drove over, and we get there, and she's already in her bed in the hospice facility. And it's a beautiful hospice facility, by the way. And there's this sweet nurse, I think her name was Allison or Sarah or something, and she's talking to Danielle, trying to tell her what was going to happen, who the nurse was going to be that night. And Danielle kept saying, I can't hear you. Her ears had gotten really bad, her hearing, because of the drugs. The heavy pain meds had somehow affected her ears. So this sweet nurse squats down and gets right up in her face so that she can hear her. And she's talking some more, and Danielle grabs her cheeks like this, and she said, thank you so much. You're an angel. And then the next thing Danielle does is, oh man, she says, I bet my breath is really bad. She says, I'm sorry. So right up to the end, she's thinking about others. And I'm going to have Nicole come up here, and I'm going to tell one final one, and then Nicole's going to kind of facilitate an open mic if any of you would like to share a story or just a memory. And this particular one was about 2 weeks before we went to hospice. And we were in St. Charles again for about our 3rd trip. And the nurses were always so wonderful. They'd make a bed for me, and there was all like a couch in there, and they'd make up the bed so I could stay there with her overnight. And this particular night, she was having an especially bad time. Very sick, up and down all night long. Every half hour to an hour, she had to go to the bathroom. And each time she'd come back, I'd help her and get into bed, and then I'd cover her up because she was always cold. And this particular night, about 3 in the morning, she gets back into bed, and she looks up at me with these big eyes, and she said, I just want to go home. And I said, honey, you can't go home because you can't keep your meds down, you can't keep food down, you can't even keep liquid down. And she said, no, I want to go home. She pointed up. And 2 weeks later, she did. And I'll forever miss her. Thank you. Here you go.
Wow. It's really always nice to hear stories, and I continue to hear so many stories about my mom, about how giving she was. And I know some people want to kind of come up and do open mic. We're going to leave the mic going throughout the day. What we really wanted to do was make this a party for my mom, because you know my mom liked to party. If you came in, there was a little drink ticket. Terry really wanted to let you enjoy a glass of wine or a beer in honor of my mom, to toast my mom. So if you didn't get that, Barb Malcolm, she's in charge of hoarding those, but we do have some extra tickets. But we wanted time to socialize as well. We do have a band outside that will start. We will have hors d'oeuvres going around. Just remember, this is a party. There's no chairs down there, so if you want to bring a chair to go hear the band, by all means, feel free to take one of these down there. But we want to dance and we want to party and do what my mom would want. I know as somebody who really wants to come up and speak for open mic, and again, you can follow. If nobody wants to speak, it's fine, but we will have the mic available throughout the day. So, Yvonne Ward.
Hello. I want to share some memories because she was very special to all of us, and I want to hear your story too. So I'm going to tell you a few of my favorite things that I remember about her, and I'm hoping you guys will do the same. I met Danielle when I moved here from Albany. I transferred with my company and I moved over here, and she happened to be on a transaction I was closing, and she wasn't the one that picked me, obviously, but we became fast friends all of a sudden, and she called me her escrow officer extraordinaire. That was her name for me. Every time she saw me, she would introduce me. I wasn't Yvonne Ward. This is my escrow officer extraordinaire. So it was kind of a pet name. It always made me feel good that she would call me that, and she made it her goal to be my cheerleader and make sure that I stayed in Bend and I had a desk full of clients. And I remember the day she came to my office and she brought me some doTERRA peppermint beads, and I don't know if she ever did that to you, but she said it was the best thing for bad breath. So I took one and I'm like, it's really good, Danielle, because it takes your breath away. You can't even talk. And then as she walked out, because that's the only thing she wanted that day, she walked back out, and I'm like, well, did she bring it because I had bad breath? Or was she just being nice and giving me something? So anyway, she also, it was her job at my closing, so if any of you have closed with me, she always would get her clients to come into the conference room, and she literally would not let them sit down or take their coat off before she said, give me your ID, give me your ID. It's my job, I've got to go make copies of IDs. People couldn't come in without sitting down, and she was literally taking the purses out of people's hands to get the ID out of there. I never made that job for her, she made it herself. That was her job. We also laughed about, at the very beginning, I told her I had this really bad problem of buying shoes. I love shoes. And she said, me too, I have a shoe fetish too. I don't know, Terry, how many shoes she might have, but so I decided to go to Payless Shoes, and I bought her some hooker shoes. And they literally had heels like this, and they were tiger print, and she just thought those were the best thing. She took a picture of them one time. She must have been dancing somewhere, and she took a picture of them saying, I have my hooker shoes on. So, and I also one time decided to join a BNI group, and she was put down as my business reference. I'm not sure that was a good idea, because when they called to check on the business reference, she said if she was a guy, I would date her. And I'm like, they're not going to get me in that group when you said that. She goes, oh yeah, you got it, you're in. But there was no topics off bounds. If you said you had a problem, she wanted to hear about it, all about it. You couldn't leave anything out. It literally had to be solved before you walked out. I remember when I wanted to switch jobs, and I was struggling with it, and I couldn't figure out what to do because I'm just such a steady Eddie. I can't make that change. And she said, well, come over and have a glass of wine. We'll talk about it. We'll figure it out. We probably had more than one glass of wine, and I think I solved my own problem just by us talking through it. But that's how she was. She would let you solve your own problems. But opposites do attract. She was very outgoing, as you all know. She loved to dance, she loved to party. That's the opposite of me, but it brought out the best in me because she made me a better person for that. And I'm sure she's up in heaven and she's probably selling sections of heaven and waiting for her escrow officer extraordinaire to come close it. So rest in peace, Danielle.
I think people are getting restless and wanting some drinks and food that will be coming around. So we'll keep the mic kind of going, and there's this one song, you don't have to stay here, it's just in the background, I wanted you to hear it. It's a song by Rita Wilson. If you don't know, Tom Hanks' wife actually sings, and it's just about throw me a party. So if you listen to the words, this song was sent to me, and it is completely my mom.
I lived my life as kind as I could. I did my best, I hope I was good. I always wished I'd crossed a few more lines, but I always lived like there wasn't enough time. I leave my footprints for you in the sand, a couple of notes only you'll understand. I have one wish, that someday you'll see how much your love is meant to me. So when I'm gone, throw me a party. You should dance as if I was there. Don't be sad or be broken hearted. Just send your voices up in the air. Sing my songs and light up the sparklers. Tell my stories and drink all my wine. And all my life is just getting